I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item we have, Mr. Morak.
Yes, Your Honor. I move we adopt the agenda with the omission of items 14 and 15. We're taking off the agenda, items 14 and 15.
I move to,
Closed session and the return to open session. I would move that we would approve the agenda with the exclusion of those two items.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the exclusions of items 14 and 15, closed session. Any comments on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Next, we have the approval of the October 8th and the October 16th minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of October 8th and October 16th.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 8th and October 16th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have authorization to pay bills. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we pay bills in the amount of $1,239,286.45.
Second.
Moved and seconded to pay bills in the amount of $1,239,286.45. Are there any questions on the bills? Please cast your ballots. Voting yes, motion carried. Okay, we've got on the agenda next public comment, but unfortunately it's time for public hearings. So first of all, I'm going to open the public hearing for the 2020 budget public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience or anybody who wishes to speak on the 2020 proposed city budget? If not, I will close the public hearing on the budget. Next, we've got a public hearing on the ordinance relating to overpayments, which would be the second reading tonight. Is there anybody who wishes to speak at that? If not, I will close the public hearing on the ordinance related to overpayments. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to the public, or I'd like to open the public hearing on an ordinance to zone property at 811 Spur Road? Is there anybody that wishes to speak to that item? If not, I will close the public hearing on that. Next, we have I will open the public hearing on an ordinance to zone property at 2104 North Shawano Street to B2. This would be the second reading. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on that? If not, I will close the public hearing on that zoning ordinance. The next one is I will open the public hearing on an ordinance to zone property at London Acres to R2. This would be the second and final reading of that issue tonight. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on that? If not, I will close the public hearing. Now, moving right along, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to the council on any matters? If not, I will close public comment. Next, let's move to standing and special committees. First of all, Board of Public Works, Mr. Barrington.
thank you. Board of Public Works met on Monday, November 4th, 2019 at 4:30. First item we had was wastewater treatment facility update. Basically, what we do is we look at inputs, outputs, phosphates and some of this stuff, whether they're still in line where they should be. They were, so we had no questions or comments on that. The next item was to approve costs to replace the main electrical breaker at the wastewater treatment facility in the amount of $9,939 from the 2019 Wisconsin Replacement Fund account. The main breaker for the wastewater treatment facility has been identified as very weak and has a phase imbalance when the emergency generator runs. Mr. Brule and Mr. Hirth are recommending replacing the breaker switch in the amount of $9,939 using the Wisconsin Replacement Fund account. Motion made and seconded and passed to do that. The next item, we got a presentation on Rural Roads 8 from the Rural Roads ATV Club, Ellen Krabbe. President of the Rural Roads ATV Club provided a presentation to the board promoting the adoption of ATV, UTV routes within the city of New London. No motion was made at this time. The next, we had discussion and possible action on that. Several individuals from public provided statements for and against ATV routes within the city. This topic will continue to be reviewed and placed on future agendas for further discussion. The next item we had was to review the 2019-2020 snow removal services proposal tabulation for contract award. The board reviewed the 2019-20 services proposal. The contract will assist the city in cleaning snow from selected city parking lots and for neglected sidewalks in front of private property. 4 proposals were received. The proposals were very similar. Mr. Hirth recommended at awarding the contract to Rowell's Auto Body and Snow Plowing, who has had this contract the last 2 years and has been very responsible to the city needs. This will be brought up at council meeting tonight. The next, we discussed a possible recommendation on Genie Street drainage issues. A discussion was held with design improvements regarding culverts, storm water runoff, and drainage issues on Genie Street. It was moved and seconded that the city add the lower of the 2 Genie Street improvement costs to the capital projects budget for consideration. And motion carried unanimous. Director's report, there was nothing identified. Next month agenda, we have nothing at this time. The meeting was adjourned at 6:08. I make a motion to award the 2019-20 snow removal services contract to Rowell.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to award the 2019-20 snow removal services contract to Rowell's Auto Body and Snow Plowing. Is there any comment or question on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
And that is all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Barrington. Next, we move to Finance and Personnel. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance and Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, November 6th at 4:30 p.m. in the council chambers. The agenda was adopted. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by O'Connell to recommend to council remove of the word transient from the chapter in relation to room tax. Motion carried 8-0. The purpose of this change is to include in the calculation any sales for a person for a continuous period over 1 month. There was a general discussion on the riverfront development. There was a delay in the progress due to the last-minute flood plan observation of the property and a need for a market rate study. Administrator Leone is working on a possibility of an alternative site, ability to apply for the WIDA tax credits, expansion of the TID district, and possibility of commitments from the city. There will be a special finance committee meeting to continue the discussion on Tuesday, November 12th at 6 o'clock. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by Barrington to recommend a council approval of the 2020 budget ordinance. Motion carried 8-0. Finance Director Radke reviewed the September financial reports. Administrator's report and Finance Director's report were discussed. City Administrator Leone discussed his proposed reorganization. Mr. Leone stated that he had a meeting with Patrick Lynn at Carlson Detman Consulting and would like the ability to contact with them on job descriptions. The committee requested that the proposals be brought back to the next Finance Committee meeting December 4th at 4:30 on both internal and external considerations. There was general agreement that, as difficult as it is to find qualified employees in today's market, process would include communication and transparency with staff throughout. There was no public questions or answers. The committee then went into closed session per section 19.85 subsection 1 subsection C to discuss personnel matters at 5:21 p.m. No action as a result of the closed session, and the meeting was adjourned then at 5:50 p.m. The next regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on December 4th at 4:30 p.m. Then I would move to adopt the ordinance relating to overpayments. This is the second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance relating to overpayments, second and final reading. Is there any question or discussion on this item? Please cast your ballots.
Did it go through?
All voting yes, motion carried.
If I sit it down here.
Then I would move for the ordinance to make the city attorney an appointed position. This is the first reading.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance to make the city attorney an appointed position in the future. Any discussion or comments on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Then I would make motion to waive the rules to adopt the 2020 budget ordinance in one reading.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded to waive the rules to adopt the 2020 budget ordinance in one reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Then I would move to adopt the 2020 budget ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the 2020 budget ordinance. Are there any comments or discussion on the budget? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Then I would move to waive the rules to adopt the room tax ordinance amendment in one reading.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to waive the rules to adopt the room tax ordinance amendment in one reading. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Then I would move to adopt the ordinance to amend Municipal Code 3.15, creation of room tax, to remove the word transient.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance to amend the Municipal Code 3.15, the creation of room tax, to remove the word transient. Is there any discussion on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Then I would move to approve the license list for November as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the license list as presented. Is there any discussion or comment on the license list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
That's all I have for finance.
Thank you, Mr. Morak. Now you can move right along to Capital Projects
Moving right
Committee.
along to capital projects, yes. The Capital Equipment and Projects Committee met on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:50 PM in the Municipal Building. Finance Director Judy Radke reviewed the 10-year capital equipment and projects plan. Radke asked the department heads to prioritize any needs for approval at this night's meeting that cannot wait until January. Hirth stated that the HVAC upgrades for the police department and replacement of the furnace at Sledding Hill were a priority. Motion made by Hanky and seconded by Zog to approve the police department HVAC upgrade at a cost of $129,000. Motion carried 8-0. Motion was made by Besaw and seconded by Zog to approve the furnace replacement for the Sledding Hill at a cost of $5,000. Motion carried 5-0. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by O'Connell to authorize the placing the order for the police department squad vehicles now at a budgeted cost of $85,000 for 2 cars. Motion passed unanimously. Missy Campen explained the need for a new main server in City Hall and the cost of licensing for the same. The cost is $13,000. Motion was made by Besaw and seconded by Steinhorst to approve the purchase of the new server and the licensing. Motion carried 8-0. The committee will meet next on Wednesday, January 15th at 4:30 PM to determine how to proceed. Meeting adjourned at 6:08 PM. Then I would move to approve the HVAC upgrade to the police department at a cost of $129,000.
Moved and seconded to approve to the HVAC upgrade to the police department at a cost of $129,000. Are there any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Then we approve the furnace replacement at the Sledding Hill at a cost of $5,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the furnace replacement at Sledding Hill at a cost of $5,000. Is there any comment or question on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Then we approve the order of the 2 squad vehicles at a cost of $85,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the order of 2 squad vehicles at a projected cost of $85,000 for 2 cars. Are there any comments or question on that item? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried.
Then we approve the purchase of a main server and licensing for the same for City Hall at a cost of $13,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of a main computer server and licensing for City Hall at a cost of $13,000. Is there any questions or comments on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
That's all I have for capital projects here.
That was enough.
That was enough, yes.
Thank you. Okay, next we move on to Park and Recreation. Mr. Besaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Park and Recs Committee met on Tuesday, November 5th. Meeting was called to order at 4:30. Alderman Dean moved to approve the agenda, second by Ron Steinhorst. Motion was carried by all. Public comment relevant to items on the agenda, there was none present. Discuss and possible act on a potential facility donation at 304 Wolf River Plaza. The London Youth Baseball, the London Girls Youth Softball Association, and the city share rent at the old True Value Building at 304 Wolf River Avenue. The clubs use it for baseball, softball training, and the city's Park and Rec Department uses it for gymnastics, tumbling classes. The current owners are looking to sell the entire plaza and are considering donating the old True Value section to the city and the 2 clubs. The committee was questioned if they support the thought of accepting this donation, knowing at this time it is not a sure thing and the facility would need a capital improvements in the future. Alderman Fauché moved and seconded by Marks, authorized the city staff to notify the current owners of 304 Wolf River Plaza that the city is interested in further discussions of the possibility of accepting a donation of said facility to continue researching necessary capital improvements costs for the building. The motion was carried by all. The director's report, years of service, Richard Johnson, Access Cable producer, completed 33 years of service with the city, October 5th. Ginger Art, Recreation Superintendent, completed 17 years of service with the city, October 28th. Chairman's report none was identified. Committee members' report was not identified. Next month, agenda items, private clubs utilizing ball diamonds and electronic ticket fee machines at the boat launch. Consider updating the emergency slow no wake ordinance regarding how long buoys will be placed during the fall. Motion was moved to adjourn and adjourned at 5:20. Motion was carried by all. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned the buoys in the fall.
Yes.
Shouldn't we say early winter?
Yeah, well, whatever, yeah, right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Besaw. Next, we move to Planning Commission, Mr. Steinhorst.
Thank you, Your Honor. Planning Commission met on October, that's not correct. October 29th?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Planning Commission met on October 29th. Agenda was approved. Those in attendance were Galler, Gabert, Spillman, Stein, Grabber, Hanky, and Thompson. Minutes of the September 26, 2019 Planning Commission minutes were approved. Next item was the London Acres final plat approval. The proposed final plat for the London Acres subdivision was discussed. The Director of Public Services has approved the plan, and the Planning Commission members saw no need for any changes. Motion was made by Thompson, seconded by Spillman, to recommend approval of the London Acres final plat to the council, carried 6-0. In other matters, it was agreed that the November meeting will be held December 5th, and the December meeting will be held on January 2nd, because our regular meeting dates conflict with Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that meeting adjourned at 5:15 PM. Then I would move, Your Honor, to approve the ordinance zoning the property at 811 Spur Road. This would be its second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance zoning property at 811 Spur Road to R2. This is second final reading. Any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All approved, motion carried. Ron, you may want to, you missed the final plat approval.
The what?
The plat
London
approval.
Acres,
Motion for London Acres.
to approve the London Acres.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This print is pretty small, I must say that. The
I
proposed
agree.
final plat, yes, this is the London Acres final plat approval. The proposed final plat for the London Acres subdivision was discussed. The Director of Public Services has approved the plan, and the Planning Commission members saw no need for any changes. Motion was made and seconded to recommend approval of the London Acres final plat to the council, and that carried 6-0.
You have to recommend we accept it. Make a recommendation to council.
We need a
Recommend
motion
council that
to
we accept.
approve.
Oh, yes, okay, I need a
2104.
recommendation then to recommend to council to accept the London Acres final plat approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the final plat as presented for London Acres. I would add to that the state has set a list of questions. It has to be approved for street layouts, watershed, water drainage, so forth. There are about 9 things that they approved, and they meet every qualification the state requires. So, any questions on that? Tom?
Is that out on, off on Clot Road?
Yes, between Clot Road and County W,
Right, okay, that's what I thought.
right, just to the west, immediately west of the high school property.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried.
I would then move to pass the ordinance zoning property at 2104 North Shawano. Again, this is the second reading. This would be zoned to B2 Highway Commercial.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance zoning property at 2104 North Shawano Street to B2. Are there any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
And then I would move to accept the ordinance zoning the newly annexed property, London Acres, to R2. That would be 1 and 2 family residential. This is also the second reading.
Moved and seconded to approve the ordinance zoning property at London Acres to R2. Is there any comment or question on that item? Please cast your ballots.
Fred?
All voting yes, motion carried.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Steinhorst. Next, we move on to Economic Development Committee. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Economic Development Committee met on Tuesday, October 29th at 4:30 PM in the New London City Council chambers. The September 24th minutes were approved. The two new members, student members, Sarah Wadling and Maddie Schmidt, introduced themselves. Susan Polson then spoke about the mural planning for the longevity building to be done next spring. The mural on the furniture story was a huge success. Polson is now a member of the Wolf River Art League and would like to work with the city to beautify the river-facing side of the buildings along North Water Street. The Wolf River Art League has raised $15,000 and would like the city to match that amount to cover the expense of making the view from the river something to be proud of. Sandy Dufresne was present to talk about the housing market in New London. She stated it has been very busy with housing sales for a couple years. The market is now starting to level off and allow realtors to take a breath. With the low interest rates, the banks are seeing an uptick in refinancing. Dufresne stated there is still a need for affordable housing up to the $200,000 price. She stated the city needs to determine what they want New London to look like. Riverfront Development Update, Lou Leone stated a meeting was held just prior to the Economic Development meeting, and the library project is being pushed back 1 year. Some new dates and a timeline will be announced when it is developed. Leone stated a market study for housing will be done in July 2020. He stated donations are still welcome and encouraged. Leone met with a consultant and they spent about 9 hours discussing and driving around the city, filming different assets for the WIDA update. The consultant will develop a plan and use the film to form a marketing strategy to draw in new business and residents. The list of committee goals for 2019 was reviewed or discussed. There was suggestions on revisions. Steinhorst stated he'd like to see visiting businesses a higher priority and possibly done twice a year. Thompson asked for the new version to be labeled for 2020. The group would like to see this next month at next month's meeting. The pitch was discussed with input from state members and Scott Bleck from the school district. It was a positive experience for last year's attendees. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by Pinch to approve a donation of $300 to the event. This money comes out of the economic development budget. Motion carried. Under future activities and speakers, we would like to talk to Lynn April from CISA 8 about the Inspire program and Oliver Boucher for Advancing AI Wisconsin. Under public comment, Julie Bohm asked to speak about the ATV-UTV trail proposal. Chairman Mork directed her to the upcoming Public Works meeting where is an agenda item. Ann Hunt spoke about the market survey for library housing development and that the survey should be done before next July. And the meeting then adjourned at 5:45 p.m. And I believe that's all I have to make.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morak. Okay, you've got the minutes and reports from the Housing Authority, Library Museum, Police and Fire Commission, Utility Commission, Cemetery Superintendent, and Building Inspector for October. Are there any questions or comments on any of those reports? If not, we'll move right along to reports of officers for various reasons. First of all, I am going to appoint Maddie Schmidt and Sarah Watling as our new student representatives from the high school on the Economic Development Committee. They attended last month's meeting and they're very
Actively
active
participated,
in
yes.
participating, so.
Very happy
looks
to have
good.
them on the committee.
The other thing, I'll jump in, Steve Thompson is not here tonight, but he reports that the substation work that they've been working on for quite a while now is now complete. Well 4 progress, the drilling is done and pumping to develop the well is now taking place. So that. is Steve's report. Also, we have a gentleman in the back room tonight who runs the cameras and fiddles with all the dials and so forth to put on our television presentation so this can be shown to the public. And Richard is retiring in early January, and we believe that this is probably going to be his last council meeting. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dick Johnson for his dedication to the city of New London. He started working for the city in 1986, and over the last 33 years has held different positions, including working in the parks, community pool, and currently is our New London Access cable producer. Dick's back in the cable room right now, probably having a fit because I'm saying something nice about him, because he doesn't usually like much attention. But Richard, if this is your last meeting, we sincerely want to thank you for your years of service and wish you the best of luck in retirement. Thank you. Okay, next, we'll move along to our city administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to bring up a couple of things. I have received the ADA Title II Coordinator Orientation class, and starting to put together a 10-year plan to make the city more ADA friendly. I had a great meeting with FEMA to continue with our application to get reimbursed for the storm damage. I just settled, or just got a meeting set up for February 12th. This is Lincoln's birthday. It's a FEMA class, MGT 312. It's called Senior Official Workshop. And the hope is to try to include area people like Clintonville, Hortonville, Appleton, and invite more people to come here. The hope is that this will continue with further training sessions and, again, inviting more people to come to New London. This class is free, and if you're interested, again, it's going to be on Lincoln's birthday, February 12th. This Thursday, I'll be on the radio, so as much as I sometimes panic being in front of a TV camera, it's going to be worse when I can't even see what I'm doing. So this will be fun. And it's to talk about New London and the various projects going on here. I also met with a group this past week about the Sister City program, and met with the ambassador from Ireland on that. And I'm hoping to come back with some more details on that and a better report as far as what it entails the city to do. My preliminary report says it's very little cost on behalf of the city. That being said, there was one thing that we struck from the agenda. I'd like to ask the council for a special meeting on the 18th at 4:30. That's this Monday, so we can go over the contract regarding the reorganization, and then there'll probably be a closed door session to update you on some personnel issues.
Could we make it Tuesday instead of Monday?
Tuesday will work too. Yes.
Tuesday work for that? That would be the 19th, Tuesday the 19th. I teach on Monday nights.
19th
Dave,
Tuesday.
Dave,
Tuesday the
18th or
19th.
19th?
19th.
Monday.
Tuesday.
He can't make it the 18th. He said, how about
time?
Tuesday the 19th?
4:30.
Can you make it Tuesday the
And
19th?
I'm estimating the whole discussion from start to end will probably be less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Okay, everybody got that?
What's the time again?
4:30.
4:30.
There'll be an agenda packet to go out with that.
Okay, next we have city clerk, Mrs. Dwyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to let everybody know, any of you council members that are up for election this next April in 2020, your packets for your nomination papers are ready, so you can pick them up anytime after tonight. And they are, the first signatures you can start getting, though, is December 1st. So that's the first day to start taking in signatures for your nomination papers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Director of Public Services, Mr. Hurth.
All right, thank you, Honor. Let's see. First of all, join the Parks and Rec Department and the Chamber of Commerce in celebrating the Winter Wonderland on the Wolf, scheduled for Friday, December 6th. There'll be a 1-mile reindeer run before the parade, which starts at 5:30. You can register for it now online or come down in the office, and we can help you out. And then we'll have a prize awarded for the most festive dressed individual in the run. So be creative and come on down for that run. Public Works side, we continue to do leaf and brush pickup throughout the city. I know Mother Nature has not been cooperative or helpful in our plans this year, this fall or winter, whatever you want to call it. But we are continuing to clean up the leaves as best we can, and we will continue to do that as long as we can. I know tomorrow night we're supposed to get, 2 to 4 inches of snow. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But hopefully we can get, hopefully that'll melt, and we can kind of continue picking those up before we get in the bulk of the winter. And lastly, I just want to remind anyone who has a sump pump discharge hose, if you have that into the street, we please ask for you to remove it out of the street and put it in your backyard or somewhere else, just because we cannot have that discharge going onto the city streets and then freezing, creating ice conditions. We had problems with it last year, where we had to go and lay down a lot of ice in some areas where we had it an inch or two thick from the discharge hoses. So please remove those, so you're not creating icy conditions or, discharging that water down to your neighbor's driveway, creating icy condition for them. So we just kind of ask you to, remove those from the street. Thank you.
Next, we have Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had one anniversary, Earl Ruckdaschel, 29 years. And then I just want to remind everyone about winter parking. So there's no parking on the road from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's to help our street department keep the roads clean for you. Also, when we do have snow emergencies, I encourage people again to sign up for Code Red. Some of that information is on our website, and we will typically send it out to the citizens of New London when we do have a snow emergency. Otherwise, it's typically posted on our Facebook page or the city's Facebook page. So anytime we get more than a couple inches of snow, it's good to check that out, or wait for the call from us, and we'll get the information out to you, so we don't have to write any tickets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schleter. Next, we have Fire Chief, Mr. Wilfer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight I have 3 service anniversaries. Ted Coppersmith, 4 years with a total of 15. Jake Dishno, 11 years, and Tyler Stray, 11 years, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before council tonight?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to thank all the veterans, particularly on the council. A lot of people don't realize that half the council is made up of veterans here, and all the veterans in the audience for their service to our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.